When I became a Christian, I had a heart for the Lord, but I was still living in the flesh, and I didn't really know the difference. And so as time went on, I realized that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when everything came about pre-COVID, when we were recording Indigenous, and then the medical situation came up with Tony, at that point, that's when I started dying to it. I realized we were older, and I also realized that if Tony's not going to be involved, then it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did go through a bit of a depression because I lived my whole life to get to that point, and I was still living in the flesh. And when that situation happened with Tony, it actually forced me to really just rely on God. And in the process, I started identifying situations that caused and created what I was and who I was trying to be.
Faced with this pain.
Hi, I'm Doug Van Pelt with Heaven's Metal Magazine. I'm here today with Mike Botello. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Doing good, Doug. Thank you.
You bet. I just want to jump right in and talk about the changes in your music. You've had a revolution, an evolution, a resurrection of sorts. So
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, sheesh. Where do I start? Do we have enough time?
We do.
Well, okay. The Resurrection Tour. How did that come about? Well, gosh. Well, my latest album was released back in 2021. And of course, that was the time of COVID. And a lot of things happened during that phase, which led me to believe that I didn't think we were ever going to play again.
Yeah.
And my lead guitar player, Tony Smith, he had developed some medical issues to the point where we weren't sure if he was actually going to play again. And Tony's a pivotal member, contributor of this. And I just don't really see doing this without Tony. And so as he was going through what he went through, the Lord intervened. We were praying. I mean, everything shut down at that point.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that we had released an album. The thought of promoting it, well, on the road, just wasn't even a thought. And again, like I said, bringing other musicians involved, that's just wasn't something I was wanting to do. And so, long story short, Tony finally got the medical attention he needed. And then I got the call from Tony, and he basically said, let's do it. And so when he did that, I put it into prayer, because at that point, I personally had already died to this. I didn't think I was going to do this ever again. And I accepted that fact. And I was going through issues myself on it. And so even though Tony had given me the green light, I was still contemplating as to whether this is something we should do. And then my drummer, Dan Poole, he had already given me a green light prior to that. He used to live in Austin, and then he moved to Fort Worth, and he stopped playing with everyone, and the only involvement he was with, the only person that he chose not to quit playing was me. And he had called me and told me, hey, I'm moving, but if something comes up, I'll still be available. So at first I thought he was going to tell me he was moving on, but he didn't. So, and of course, me being a drummer myself and I'm on all the recordings. It's me that's playing the drums. I didn't hire a drummer, and the way the music is structured, it's centered around rhythm and beats. So, it's vital that I have a drummer that can do this. And Dan,
not everybody can play that, can they?
No, not everyone. No. And so to have somebody like Dan Poole, who's extremely talented, if you ask me, I would put Dan in the rankings of some of these top tier drummers, And so to have someone like him around, I mean, really, this project will not work if I don't have a good enough drummer that can do it and that's willing to study and learn the music. So the Tony situation came. Dan was there, and he was patiently waiting, and then Tony approached me about adding a second guitar player. We've always been a three-piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've never envisioned this project with a second guitar player. But I do respect Tony's opinion, and also Jason Barrett. You know, I've had the privilege to have two guitar players work with me, two very good, talented guitar players, post Awake.
Yeah.
And without them, none of this really would have come out the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of the works of Jason Barrett and everything he did in my previous albums, and even on a few Saw Sunday Faces, Secret Identity, Jason's on those songs and
Mm-hmm.
on Indigenous. Tony was noticing, hey, you know, maybe we should incorporate a second guitar player. And I had already died to this, so
Mm-hmm.
I really had no motivation or drive to audition other guitarists.
Yeah.
And I basically brought it back to the mantle, you know, because it was God that was calling us back. Because, like I said previously, I died to it, and I brought it to the mantle. And I said, Lord, if this is how you're wanting this to be, then I pray that you bring the guitarist, whoever it is that you know you want to do this, because I'm not going to audition guitarists.
Yeah. You prayed that prayer, huh?
I prayed that prayer. And so John Wilson came into the picture, and of course he was already in the picture. So I don't want to make it sound like he came after the fact.
Yeah.
John's a dear friend of mine. John has a good heart. He wants to help folks. And so he was doing his best to help me. And from the get-go, John would say, I'm not it, but I'll help you find a guitarist. And so there were a few other people that he mentioned, and some didn't even get a call because, you know, it was like, I just didn't feel it with some of these, even though they were really good players.
Yeah.
You know, so this truly is a call to obedience, because I really had died to this.
Interesting phrase.
Yeah, call to obedience. How once everyone was in agreement, then I knew it was God.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that happened, that's when the molding and the shaping and the spiritual warfare started happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It took a time of deliverance to get to where I'm at now. I know I have a clear vision now as to why the Lord has called me to doing this. It's not easy to accept because in the past I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's amazing how I've managed to sell the amount of records and downloads and the amount of spins I get throughout the internet, on internet radio, and yet I've never had a major promoter. I've never had a major label back me up. I've never gone on a world tour, much less a U.S. tour.
Yeah.
I've really only played just around here in Texas as a solo artist. I mean, I've played all over for other people, but I've always been an opening act, never really been a headliner.
Yeah.
And I get inquiries from people all over the world. I'd say about 85% of my followers are in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of heavy influences of bands like UK and Iron Maiden, Rush. You know, of course, none of those had an American base. You know, it was all European base. And, you know, me being a drummer and a rhythm player, when I put music together, I tend to emphasize more on rhythms as opposed to melodies. You know, and a lot of American style music is open guitar, straightforward beat.
Yep.
A lot of flashiness and then vocals,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like a Van Halen type style, which that's great.
Yeah.
You know, that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different style.
Mm-hmm.
And as a musician, I was never really drawn to that. You know, because I guess I am a drummer.
Yeah.
And the European style is more rhythmic. And I guess that explains why I have more fans overseas.
There you go.
And I've never played in Europe, so who knows?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, Mike, so you brought up a resurrection, how this is like the resurrection tour and the resurrection. Before we can have a resurrection, we've got to have a death. So why
Yeah.
don't you delve a little bit deeper into this death, the death of a music career? That sounds like a pretty heavy subject. Sounds like it wouldn't be easy to go through.
No, it wasn't, because, I lived my whole life for music. I mean, I hate to admit that, but it's the truth. I mean, I had a heart for the Lord, but I didn't come to know the Lord until later in life. I was not raised in a Christian family. I was raised Catholic. Um, and when I became a Christian, I had a heart for the Lord, but I was still living in the flesh, and I didn't really know the difference. And so as time went on, I realized that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when everything came about, pre-COVID, when we were recording Indigenous, and then the medical situation came up with Tony, at that point, that's when I started dying to it. I realized we were older, and I also realized that if Tony's not going to be involved, then it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did go through a bit of a depression, because I lived my whole life to get to that point, and I was still living in the flesh. And when that situation happened with Tony, it actually forced me to really just rely on God. And in the process, I started identifying situations that caused and created what I was, and who I was trying to be. I was delivered on October the 29th, 2024. And prior to that, I was dying, and I did die to music.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I went into that depression, because was my whole life. That's all I knew.
Yeah. Take that away, and what do you got left?
And now I reach a certain stage in life. That's when I started realizing, well, you're a father, you're a grandfather, you're a husband. This is what life is about. Raising a family, having children that are brought up in the ways of God, and in His Word and His teachings. And so I died to it. And so when October 29th came, and when that deliverance occurred, I had some serious demonic strongholds, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And it was passed on to me through my family.
Mm-hmm.
And that explains why every album I released, I always ran into a brick wall. Awake, we experienced local recognition pretty rapidly, actually. When we got together, it was only a matter of months, and we were starting to play shows. And then not long after that, we opened up for Vengeance Rising, and we also opened up, I'm trying to remember who else we opened up for, but we had the opportunity to open up for a Holy Soldier at the Back Room.
Yeah.
I remember they called us to do that, but we had already dissolved at that point. So anyway, my point in bringing all that up is we had reached a level where things were starting to move forward. We went into the studio. We got our first record deal that was done through my father.
Yeah.
And the album was released, and then brick wall, boom. We were no longer a band. We broke up, and that was the beginning of the woodshed process.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 15 years later I released A Timeless State.
Yeah.
Same thing. We worked on, things are coming together. We put the album together. It was released, and then all hell broke loose. I was living in Nashville at the time.
Yeah.
And then we were also, Timeless State and Rule of Law were kind of made simultaneously, because at that time I was I say major studio musician. What I mean by major is that's all I was doing. I was in the studio. I wasn't really playing live.
Mm-hmm.
The only live situation I was doing was really worship. And so being in the studio as much as I was, I basically did 2 albums kind of together. And Timeless State came about, all hell broke loose. And then a couple years later, we finished Rule of Law, and then that was released in 2010.
Right.
So Timeless State came out in 06. Rule of Law came out in 2010. And when Rule of Law came out, same thing, That was my third album.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then, of course, we distributed it. We released it. We put it in all the hands, and that's how it became known.
We did a podcast back then.
We did a podcast. That's right. I remember. But again, running into a brick wall. And then I released a Christmas album with my father and my brother. And, we didn't tour on that one, but once when that one came out, the opener song, A Botello Christmas, that got more attention than any of the stuff I ever did. I mean, immediately online, because then the emails started coming in. What is that? Who is this? And it's some people, I was getting emails from people that weren't necessarily my fans. They were just regular folks, because the style on A Botello Christmas, both my brother and my father are horn players, so it wasn't Mike Botello, even though I produced it. We did some Christmas standards, and we had a couple of originals on there, Christmas original, more contemporary style, not really hard rock, heavy metal, prog, or anything like that. And then again, time went by. Rule of Law was released in 2010, and Indigenous was released in 2021, so that's 11 years later. So when you see how all that came about, that is why it sustained itself, because God's hand was on it. And as a songwriter, I approach music, I would say, different than most songwriters. Most songwriters, they come up with a melody, or they come up with lyrics, or they'll write a poem or something. I got to turn that into a song. Whereas me, I guess because I am a drummer, the music comes first. I always create the rhythm first. I can play guitar, but I'm not a guitarist. But I do play guitar, and so I'll write the basic rhythms, and I'll have a basic rhythm ready for a real guitar player to come in, hear it, and put his magic on it. And then once the music's created, then it's like, oh, now I got to write lyrics. Supernatural moment that occurs in these songs, in the creation of the music, is when I started writing lyrics, because I'd sit down, it's like, I don't have a melody. I have no idea how I'm going to put a voice on this. Of course, vocalists that I admire strongly are Geddy Lee, Bruce Dickinson, Jeff Tate. I'm trying to think of who else. Rob Halford, Ronnie James Dio. Those guys are incredible vocalists. I mean, I love how. So I would think, well, if I'm going to do something, that I would want it to sound like that, because I look up, especially Bruce Dickinson. If you ask me, my opinion, I think he's probably the greatest showman of that genre, because the way he handles the crowd, I mean, it just, so that's what I envisioned, something like that. But I still didn't have a melody. So I was like, how am I going to get a melody? So I'd pray about it. And then all of a sudden the words would just come, because the music was already in me, because I'd been recording it for months, years. So the music was second nature. But then the voice would come, and it would come in a supernatural manner. And sometimes I would already have a topic, especially if I went through a certain situation. There are specific songs that I've written, like one song you liked a lot in the Spiritual Warfare album, Change. That song was about what happened with my parents when they split up. And that was more acoustic style. So there are certain songs where I already had a topic, but for the majority of them, I didn't. So I'd pray and I'd read the Bible, and I'd get some scriptures in me, and then it would just start flowing. And I really don't have words to describe it. I really don't.
Wow.
But it amazes me on how it comes about, because I'm the one experiencing it. No one's in the room with me when it's happening. And then a lot of times these lyrics would come about and I'd read them and I'm like, what is this? I don't even
Yeah.
understand what I'm reading. It was written in a manner like how you would read the book of Revelation.
Yeah. Why don't you give us an example, like the lines from Chasing the Dragon?
Yeah, well, the opening song of Indigenous, the first verse is, beware, oh, I see. It's drifting off, nowhere to dream. 50 cubits high, so you can see. One more time, one more time. I feel it then, will you believe? To the tribune you will go, till death you breed. When I wrote that, I remember looking back and going, what in the world is this?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Where did this come from? And it wasn't until years later that it all came about. So I put it together. It sounded cool. Great. People would ask me, what's it about? Well, I'm not really sure. But I believe it has hints of addictive personality. It has hints of oppression, demonic strongholds.
Yeah.
And so Chasing the Dragon, those lyrics stemmed off that. But it goes deeper than just addiction. It challenges where your walk is with the Lord. And out of that, Secret Identity was stemmed from that as well.
Yeah.
Secret Identity is a song that focuses on your inner self, that inner demon that makes you do the things you don't want to do, which is what Paul wrote in Corinthians, I believe.
Yeah.
The things I don't want to do, I do, yet the things I want to do, I don't do. What a wretched man I am. And addiction is a lot like that. There's good people that are addicted by accident.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way of saying it. And
or stumble into.
Or they stumble into it innocently, and then all of a sudden, boom. And from what I've learned, I always tell people, don't even try it. Don't even experience it. You're better off never knowing it. I wish I never experienced it because, it doesn't matter where you're at. Addiction has a way of pulling you. And so on Secret Identity, that's what that talks about. And in the middle part of that song where I'm screaming, that's the inner torment. Because, you use and you do the things you do while you're using. And then when you're done, the regret is horrible. And spiritually, it knocks you down. It brings you at that low level of consciousness. And further below that, it's bad enough that we're already at that low level, just in our sobriety, living life. And then when you do drugs and you get high, it takes you even further down. And that's what Secret Identity is about. And the middle part, the apparition, which is where Mike Solis appears on the video. And hello, I'm your personal genie. I'm prepared to give you everything your heart desires. That is, if you're willing to pay the price. But if you choose to follow me, it will cost you your life. And that's when, where the screaming part comes. And it's true. It's true. I mean, we're all gonna give our sell out to something. And I'd rather sell out to righteousness and truth than the temporal, fleeting pleasures of our physical carnality.
Good choice.
And so that's what Indigenous is really centered around in terms of the topic and the theme.
All right, Mike. So resurrection. What is the difference in your outlook now versus what it used to be before?
Well, now I'm not chasing the crowds or the attention. In the past, it seems like that was the point. Now it's more about just being obedient, the call to obedience, and doing what the Lord's asking me to do. I realize now I didn't in when all this was being created, I didn't realize what the message really was until after the fact. I think it took that veil of lifting through the deliverance to make me realize what the message was, and what God is wanting me to do is focus on the message.
Yeah.
I have a series of videos on YouTube right now, and I'm going to have up to maybe 14 or 15 episodes, and
Mhm.
we're on episode 7 right now, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And these videos focus on the lyrical content, which is the message. And ironically, when all this music came, that was the last thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And now that's the focus, is
Uh-huh.
the mess. Now that the music's been created, it's that message. And so going out there and playing, it's not just about me having fun and being on stage. And even though it is fun
Yeah.
when you're on stage and playing in front of especially a crowd that's really into it,
Uh-huh.
but that's not the point anymore. It's the message. And I really believe that where the Spirit is leading the viewers, or just the audience, not so much the viewers, is those videos, is those episodes, because
Uh-huh.
it's the message behind the music that's driving all this.
Yeah.
Without that message, then this is really nothing.
Right.
So that's the shift. Now I am kind of fearful of that, and it's a holy fear, because I pray every morning, Lord, if this cup can pass before me, let it be so.
Yeah.
If not, rather thy will, not my will, be done.
Mm-hmm.
When you're called by God, you're not called to live a comfortable life. And if that's what you're striving for, then you've missed it. Our comfort and our reward is in heaven. The Bible says, build your treasures in heaven, not on earth, where you're not going to be able to take that with you when you die.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you mentioned that prayer you pray, if it's possible, let this cup pass. I think of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if it's possible, let this cup pass, but nevertheless, and that one word, nevertheless, changed the history of the whole world.
Right.
We probably wouldn't be here if he hadn't have said, nevertheless,
Right.
thy will be done, not my will be done.
That's right.
And it seems like it's a God thing where he takes something that we're doing or something that we love, and he asks us for it, and he asks us to sacrifice it, and then he can use it because he's kind of pruned us and taken out that prideful root. It's amazing.
Oh, I've been pruned. I'm still being pruned.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're approaching these gigs and this new music and this new life, these new opportunities with fear and trembling.
Yeah. And that's new to me.
Yeah.
Because the problem I had when I was younger is that I knew it. I knew what I was capable of.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really express enough humility. Now I have been humbled. I've been humbled in many different ways, not in the ways that, people would mostly think, but, spiritually, I realize how vulnerable I really am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing God showed me recently is that there's a verse that says, consider others as more important than yourself.
Yeah.
And I used to interpret that as, okay, I'm going to pretend that those other people are more important than I am. But the word says, consider them more important, like actually believe that they are more important than yourself. And that was a turning point for my mind to put others above myself.
Right.
And that's where the rubber meets the road. So tell us where we can find the videos you have where you're going over the lyrics, and point us to your resources.
Yes. Well, you can go to botellomusic.com. And there, if you scroll down to the bottom, all the videos are there, and that'll lead you to my YouTube page. I do have a page on YouTube.
Yep.
And on that channel, you'll find all the episodes there as well. On Facebook, you'll find them there too. Eventually, I'm going to be on X, and I'm going to be on a few other social media platforms. I'm not there yet to date, but by the time this is released, it'll all be set up. But yeah, you can find it there, and you can write to me at botellomusic.com/contact.
Okay.
So
very cool. And how can the viewers pray for you, Mike?
Yes. Thank you for asking that question. I asked those of you that are out there, listening, I asked one, if you truly are hearing God, I just pray that I remain obedient, humble, and that the Lord will provide the resources and the direction needed to accomplish this. More of Him and less of me. That's ultimately what I would love for people to pray for me, and that my family strengthens. That's what I ask.
Amen. That's good.
Amen.
Well, thanks for sharing time with me, Mike.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming out, and thank you for a lifelong friendship.
One other thing I wanted to mention is why don't we shine a spotlight on the incredible talent you have around you? Got a bunch of people.
Yes.
Tell us about each one of them.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm so honored and privileged to have a crew. Everyone's talented, from the man behind the camera right here, to the people that have worked with me on my recordings, friendships like yours, my wife, the people in Nashville, everyone, down to the guys running my merch. Everyone's talented. I'm amazed when I work with each individual on whatever specific role they have in this ministry, because that's what it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I know a lot of Christian musicians, or especially rock musicians, they don't want to call it a ministry or whatever. This is a
Yeah.
ministry. So everyone that I'm working with individual, I see the talent in them, and I'm thankful, because God brought everybody involved. It wasn't me going out there and looking. It's just the way it happened throughout the years. I mean, what you got to realize is that I've got 40 plus years, 45, really 50 plus years of music involvement. And I became a professional musician at a very young age. I mean, I wasn't even an adolescent yet, and I was getting paid to play. And so it all came about, and and the fact that I have this kind of talent around me, even those behind the scenes, those that aren't getting much the visual recognition, everyone's talented to a degree, and I say this live, I'm only as good as those that I surround myself with. Because without the talent around me, this wouldn't even exist. And it's God, because the Spirit of God lives in all of us. He created us all individually, and it's amazing. And God's a great mystery. We only know just a fraction of what God really is, and it's revealed through the talent around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Mike. Signing off now.
Thank you, Doug, and go Heaven's Metal. Amen.